You know how frustrating it can be when your clients cannot understand or visualize your design concepts, right? Even though you've given swatches, drawings, mood boards, and you've used software like AutoCAD and SketchUp, and you've tried to make sure they understand what they are approving. Well, Duke Renders has the answer for that. They offer 100% accurate, do-it-for-you 3D renderings that present your designs in their entirety. This way, you can make sure that your client fully understands and visualizes your design before execution. This saves you headaches, saves you time, this saves you money, it saves you that back and forth. Do you want to learn how you can start saving these headaches? Well, book a quick intro call to start getting your designs in beautiful photorealistic renderings. Go to dukerenders.com/LuAnn and you will get 30% off your first order. That's dukerenders.com/LuAnn. Do this now. Just book the call now and see what's going on over there because this offer is valid for just this week. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Over the years, we've had many dynamic duos on the show, and recently we've had Allie Morford and Lee Lincoln from Pure Salt Interiors, Becky and Nate Vanderbrook from Hygge Design. Also, Han Dang was here to talk about her partnership in Very Handsome Studio with V. Chung. Today, I am joined by co-owners Erin Coren and Lina Galvao of Curated Nest. With Erin as Creative Director and Lina as Director of Business Development, Curated Nest is a complete partnership. Both ladies bring value to the table, collaborating in what has resulted in growth from $500,000 to almost $5 million a year in revenue. Erin and Lina joined forces in 2016, and I'm honored to say that they have utilized this podcast, its guests, and resources in this journey. Of course, the doing the work, though, it's all on them. Between their transferable skills, talent, and professionalism, they have built quite an impressive company. Erin previously managed her own interior design firm, EMC2 Interiors, for 10 years before co-founding Curated Nest with Lina. During that time, she worked with a wide range of consumers, including celebrities, corporate CEOs, families, magazine editors, and television shows. She leads the Curated Nest design team across all projects in the New York and Connecticut areas. Now, Lina, after learning her Bachelor of Science from Yale University and a Master's in Public Health from Columbia University, she went on to study interior design at the Fashion Institute of Technology. Before becoming a designer, she had a 10-year career as a business consultant for healthcare organizations. She was interested in the ways that environments can improve patients' wellness. Erin and Lina shared a cute story of their initial conversations about Curated Nest on their intake form. They both had firstborns. Their babies were 6 weeks old, and one day they met in Brooklyn over burritos. They bonded over the wonders and horrors of being first-time mothers. They shared a passion for design, and then they launched a business to figure out a way to serve other busy parents who desired a luxurious feeling for their home, but were apprehensive about attempting to do this with children. They were aware that designing for families needed to be done better. They fittingly refer to their style as livable luxury. So, what we're here today, though, for is Erin and Lina are going to switch roles. Instead of being the ones listening to the lessons on the podcast, today we're going to learn the lessons from them. Well, Erin and Lina, I'm so happy to have you guys on A Well-Designed Business. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much, LuAnn. It's so exciting to be here.
Hi, LuAnn. Thank you so much for having us. This is Lina, and I'm thrilled to be here as a very long-time listener.
Oh, that's awesome. I know. I've been getting to know you ladies a little bit off air, as we say. And it's been fun to learn that both you and Erin have been listening to the show since you started your businesses together. You had interior design firms prior separately, but 2016, you started your business together. And that's also when you guys started listening to the podcast, I think you said, right?
This is Erin. Exactly. We're the OG listeners. We had a background in interior design. We did the old school route. And really, coming across your podcast was one of the biggest game changers in how we were able to really scale our company.
I mean, the thing is, look, I know that somebody can grow a company by listening to the podcast, but the doing part of it is different. If you were, and we're going to talk about how you scaled from 0 to 3 million, and now you guys are headed to 5 million. So like literally I could spend an hour and a half on just that topic because that's just so exciting to me. Such an incredible accomplishment to hit multiple millions and to continue to grow. But before we get to that, take me back to that beginning of that partnership and the two of you listening to the show. And like you said, like going from old school business methods to new ideas, a new approach to running your business. What were some of the key things? Do any like stand out to you in hindsight, what they were for either of you or both of you?
Well, I remember, and this is Lina, I remember Erin and I were driving in the car one day, and she was like, I found this great podcast by LuAnn. And we started listening, and we're like, this is fabulous. And I remember a couple of your first episodes, you had Bria Hamill and you had Monica Wilcox. And we were so inspired by those episodes, and they really guided us. And we really followed a lot of those instructions, so to speak, and actually did that work that those designers shared. So we are so thankful for that, and so thankful that other designers have paved the way for people like us who were just getting started.
Can you remember what it was? Was there and you might not remember a specific nugget, but can you remember a specific nugget or aha that Monica or Bria that was impressed upon you that you were like, whoa, that's the thing right there? Anything come to mind?
Absolutely. Lots of great nuggets. I remember from the Bria Hamill episode when she talked about how she wrote down all of her processes from start to finish, from client intake all the way to closeout. And we realized, well, we should be doing that too. We should document all our processes so we know exactly what should happen. And as we scale and grow and get bigger, the other employees know exactly what should happen, almost like a roadmap. And that was something that really set off a light bulb, I think, for both of us in terms of the importance of having concrete business practices. And another great episode was with Monica Wilcox. And I recall that she just had such authority in the way that she spoke. And she talked about how she sort of put forth that authority with her clients. And it inspired us to be more confident in the way that we project and the way that we work with clients and assert our professionalism. I think people have a certain image in their mind when they think about an interior decorator. Well, guess what? We're not decorators. We went to school, we're trained, we are designers. We're doing almost the same sort of work that, architects are doing. So to me, hearing Monica just speak with such authority and how she handles her clients and how she manages expectations with her clients was a game changer.
That's interesting. I love because it's like seeing the possibility of it,
Yes.
right? And you're both sitting there going, we have experience in this. We have education in this. All we have to do is tweak that, the way we talk about ourselves to other people, it almost sounds like. And also, like what I always say, having the chops of when you do define the process, it makes it a whole lot easier to stand on authority that this is the way this show's going to run, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. How about you, Erin? Any early ideas or nuggets that stand out from any particular shows? I know I'm calling you out both on the spot. You weren't prepared for this. We didn't talk about this. So don't feel compelled to answer it. But I just always find it interesting, the things that land on people. Like what are, like, those episodes are 5 and 6 years ago and they're like fresh in your mind, right?
Exactly. I feel like we would always gear towards the different episodes that had to do with certain issues and like where we are in our business. So when we were trying to put together different systems and processes, you had a lot of different resources that we could go and listen into and get little tidbits. And, even learning about the different programs that were out there,
Mm.
everything with interior design, it can be really rudimentary. There was not at that point a lot of options out there to really expand your business and to really gain efficiencies. So we did listen to a lot of episodes about building systems and processes, also like how other companies scaled, even just understanding, the goals and having performance reviews and how you want to grow your team. Like there's just so much information out there
Yeah.
that was really helpful for us to, expand within the first few years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that it was a big part of helping you guys get some clarity on how to do what you wanted to do, which was scale your business. And ladies, scaling to 5 million is no joke. So let's talk about that. So now you're fast forward, you're 8 years in, you have scaled successfully to multiple millions here. And there is another, duo of Lina and Erin listening that are just starting their business. And of course, there is an entire library of 1,000 episodes to go back and listen to the things that you've listened to. But what's your information on this? Like, what in your mind have been the steps of scaling that, like, first this and second that, or I don't even care if it's first or second, just like these were critical in our hindsight now, having scaled? What were the differentiators that helped you do it? What thoughts come to mind there?
So this is Erin talking. So it's actually really interesting, having had a interior design background, going through the different studio projects and learning the different practices and principles of design. They don't really teach you in school the business side. They might have a little bit about licensing, but they don't really hone in on how to grow a business. So oddly enough, I did have a woman reach out to me last night who I did go to interior design school with, and she recently started her business and wanted to know any advice because she saw that we were just on TV. And one of the first things that came to my mind is you need to decide what you want to do and what kind of design style you want. What do you want to focus on to be happy? And then figure out what you need to do in order to get to that point. So if you want to be a residential designer, you want to just have a project or two on the side and that's where you're going to be happy, great. If you want to scale a business and have 100 employees, that's going to be a completely different projection in how you grow your company. So that was my first little tidbit for her, because what Lina and I really wanted is we wanted projects that really inspired us. We wanted clients that appreciated. We wanted a level of professionalism. And then we had to put together all the pieces of how we could portray that and give the client the end result that they were after.
All right, let me push you back a little bit. Okay. Only because you are seasoned, so you can take it. Okay. I don't get a lot of this chance. Okay. So I hear you, Erin, and I know you're going to have the follow up to it. But and I love the advice. It's what's your why, right? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? So this woman calls you last night after seeing you on George to the Rescue, which of course we'll link in the show notes so everybody can see the episode that you guys were on. But I love that. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your firm to look like? But when you say, for Lina and I, we wanted to have projects that we liked. We wanted to have clients that we liked. And I couldn't write the third one down. You were talking too fast. But the thing is, That's not specific enough. I know it's not. You know it's not when I say it back to you, is it? Right? Like because the thing is, I can want projects that I like, clients that I like, and whatever the third thing you said is, and stay a solopreneur,
Correct,
right? And
exactly.
stay in my thing. So the thing is, I get it as the first stop. You can't skip projects you like, clients that you like. Tell me what the third one was, for crying out loud. I keep saying the third thing. Do you remember what it was?
Do you remember, Lina?
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. But we get it. We get it. I mean, look, we get it. I'm glad that you're longtime listeners, because we're all having a laugh with each other and everybody else right now. It's totally fine. The thing is, what I'm saying is that has to be clear, but that's not a condition for scaling. That's a condition for being in business.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement, you guys?
Yeah. And this is
Okay.
Lina, just to follow up on that, I think, what Erin's saying is, like, we wanted to define our goal before we figured out the process.
Right.
And I think for us, our goal was, of course, to have good clients and clients who appreciate our work and treat us like professionals.
That's what it was. It was have professional standards and quality.
Right, exactly. See, it's in there somewhere. But I think what we also wanted was to have a decent work-life balance. We wanted to mentor other women. We wanted to build a firm that felt like a little bit like a family, and that we were excited to be with every day. Because let's face it, we're on site together all the time, sometimes in crazy conditions. And we really wanted to build a group of people that are passionate about interior design, that are passionate about client service, and people that we would want to see every day, and that we would be proud to mentor and grow with.
I love it.
That was very, very critical for us. So kind of setting those end goals really helped us define what are the steps we need to get there. And of course, as we said, your podcast was instrumental in getting us there.
So I love this. And it's so clear how you guys are the yin and yang, right? That you are finishing each other's sentences, understanding what each other think, because it is so true. All of what you said is the foundation for having a business first, right? Erin, you're like, here's what you have to have a business. And then for you guys, you identified that, to your point, you want work-life balance. Well, you know what? Usually work-life balance is achieved. It's achieved one of two ways. You pull the pipeline back or you grow the team, right?
Exactly.
It's one or the other, right? Because once you get your marketing in motion, if you're doing it right, it's going to generate leads. And so to have work-life balance also means that we put the brakes on that pipeline and manage it, or we grow it out. But then when you combine work-life balance and then the and we wanted to mentor other women. Okay, well, we're not going to put brakes on a pipeline and just manage it between the two of us if one of our shared common goals is, pouring into other people and growing up them in their careers and their professionalism. And then finally creating that environment, that company that felt like a cohesive team with everybody. And so I love these things, because you're right. You do have to, and you both had to be on the same page with this. Right? Because one of you could be like, hey, I love it just me and you, Tom and Jerry, let's go out into the sunset. And the other one's like, we want the whole Looney Tunes gang. What are you talking about? Right?
Well, I mean, and this is Lina again. I mean, that was a debate when we first started. We certainly
Was it? Interesting.
You have to talk about these things when you're in a partnership. And it took us a while to take that leap to making our first hire, our first real salaried hire, not just a 1099 contractor.
Right.
It took us a while to get there because we didn't know, are we going to be able to handle this? Is this actually going to extend our reach and our capacity? And of course it did, but you reach a tipping point and it has to be discussed. And I think it's in those moments where you really do some self-examination and you sit there and you talk to your partner and you say, what do you want out of life? Not just out of your business. And certainly that happened. I mean, you remember, Erin, we were like, oh, well, we could just do this faster, than training a new employee.
Oh no, this is Erin. These are real
Yeah.
conversations because my background was me and a design assistant, and that's really
Mm.
what I knew. I worked at companies that they did have, large teams. They had upholsterers on site, artisans, like everything. But I didn't know how to actually create that. I just felt like that happened over many
Some
years.
magic wand makes it all happen, right?
Yada yada, and suddenly, and so that's the beauty of having a business partner that does have a business background, whereas I have the traditional interior design background. Is we were able to work together to really determine, let's look at the numbers. Like, let's actually put together what like year one is going to look like when we hire someone. And now we have, full benefits packages. We have
Wow.
401ks. We have, continuing education for our employees. Like we're really trying to create something that's special and we're really proud of.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like one of my goals is, and Erin's goal too, but to create a company that people want to work at.
Mm.
That it's not just about attracting talent. It's about attracting goodness and quality and having every day be interesting and fun with the people you work with.
I love that sentiment. I love that sentiment because that doesn't happen by accident. And I think many entrepreneurs think it does, that just all of a sudden one day you look around and everybody happy and everybody is liking to be there. But it's a
Oh, it takes a
very
lot of work.
intentional process, right? To create that environment. Would you agree?
A lot of work. This is Erin. Of course, we all want to sit at home in our stretchy pants. It's a Monday through Friday job, but we want to be really respectful with our employees and make sure that they feel like they're being heard. They feel like they have a lot of say. So when we were hiring our employees, it took a lot of effort for Lina and I to determine who is our first hire going to be, second, third, fourth, eighth. And one of the big factors in how we're scaling our company is Lina and I understand that we're not great at everything, and that's totally fine. We want to make sure that we're honing in on what we can provide to the company and then bring in incredible talent that's able to
support.
provide what they can and support. And they feel very fulfilled. So
Mm.
they've all been with us for a long time each. They feel like they have growth. They feel like they're heard. They're also sitting down with us to go over our systems and processes and efficiencies. So, and we're like, that sounds great. Like, let's do a beta of that, test it out. Like
Love it.
they're a part of the growth.
Love it. Love it. Now, I know that you had mentioned a little off air that when you originally grew the company or started the company, and what I don't know is when did it switch, but there was a period of time that you ran it where Erin, you had your projects, Lina, you had your projects, whether or not there were employees at this point. But I'm curious because a lot of principals do it that way. It's like, the company has a name that's, but, you either maybe whether you both meet with a potential client and you just look at each other's respective pipelines and also personality fit, or you just your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. But you no longer do it that way. So talk to me about maybe why you don't do it that way any longer. And did it work and it just was a change again in your end goals? Or did you find that it got to a point where it had an expiration date on it being effective? Like what was the reason for the switch and the process of doing it?
Lina, do you want me to start out?
Go ahead.
So when we initially started, say we end up having 10 projects, each of us basically would be the principal designer for 5 projects. And we would kind of debate based on if it was location, a style. We would kind of try to evenly divide. But then as our company grew and we started hiring more project managers to work with us, it got a little challenging because no matter what, with any systems and processes, we're going to choose to do things a little bit different, which is totally fine. But we did feel like in order to have the growth to go from the scale that we were at last year and then going forward, Lina's background of business and going and network and schmoozing and bringing in the new leads is really what's going to help us to kind of hurdle over that leap that I cannot do on my own. I'm very much hide behind the fiddle leaf in the corner. And Lina is so good at going out there and talking. So we did feel like that was an important factor in getting our company to that next level.
So when you were doing it where you were attracting projects and divvying them up, the rainmaking was probably done in tandem. It was both of you going to events, both of you doing things. But as you grew, it sounded like, Erin, you're like, look, you're the one who does this anyway. So why don't we just push you out there to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has been a recent change. I would say, like, before it wasn't necessarily like your pipeline, my pipeline. It was all as a firm together. Like, if you hire Curated Nest, you're hiring the firm, not Erin or Lina. But of course, we did divvy up projects based on style and location and workload and all that. But ultimately, we still collaborated on all projects.
Okay.
I would review Erin's concepts and final presentations before, and vice versa. We're always giving each other input. We're obviously always going to trade shows and staying up on the latest trends and who are the newest vendors and the latest collections. And we love that. We love it. I mean, interior design, it's so tactile. It's so delicious. And we love to sink our teeth into that. So even though I'm in this role now, I'm still very deep in the weeds and involved on the design. And, as you grow, specialization is important. Yes. So my role now is really to help our company get to that next level.
So I didn't properly set that up. Currently now you are listed as business development, director of business development, whatever the actual title is. And Erin is listed as creative director. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now, what happens? Like, I don't imagine there's any point, Erin, that you don't look at Lina and say, what do you think of this sofa? What do you think of this rug? Right?
All the time.
Right,
all the
right.
Time.
So she's still your counterpart with that, right?
100%. And the same thing that goes for marketing or for, new leads. Like, we're definitely both input on all aspects. And I think that's one of the biggest factors that we're trying to educate our clients on is when you hire Curated Nest, you're not hiring Erin Coren. You're not hiring Lina Galvao. You're hiring Curated Nest. So you're going to get the specialization of our team. We have an operations manager. We have a procurement manager. We have project managers, senior designer, studio coordinator. We have everyone that you are going to be working with. The difference is now I'm more high level as far as the design goes. There's specific check-ins that I have, but we're really allowing our team to specialize in the area that they are strong at.
Is Lina jumping in? I think one of the great things is now that we've had some of our key project managers on board for a while, it's sort of a melding of the minds as far as design goes. So they're at the point now, they'll produce a draft design and we're just kind of blessing it and providing, revisions, updates, recommendations, but they are so incredible and independent, and they've really captured the Curated Nest vision and brand. So we feel that we're building a team that can really deliver on the brand and the point of view. So that we don't have to be as involved in every little detail. So there's a huge, huge element of trust and continuous training that comes with that.
Okay. I'm going to go into what you do as a business development director. However, because you guys have gone down this path, I'm going to explore this a little bit first. But everybody remind me to ask that other question.
Okay.
I have it here. The old girl ain't what she used to be 8 years ago. Just saying. Okay. So this building a team who can execute the designs is what I'm hearing. That really, it can do it with oversight. Like, you're not turning it over, but they're pulling the big train on the design now, it sounds like. So the question in that is twofold. Number one, you just said in there, Lina, with lots of training, continual training. So did you guys, is there a period of time that your current designers that have this role of kind of leading the division on the jobs now, did they work with you X weeks, months, years under you? Or is it possible, having scaled to this level, do you think you could take a person in and get them up to speed on your aesthetic and the way you do things in a relatively short period of time? Or do you feel like, no, they got to be with me for a long time? They really need to know how to finish my sentences too from a design perspective.
So this is Erin. So I think the big thing to kind of hone in on is while we are hiring designers, it's not like we are hiring independent contractors that we're outsourcing the design for by any means.
Right.
I always have the first walkthrough with a client. I have the first Pinterest review to put together the style direction, the first concept design. They're doing drafts. They're helping to assist, but what they're really focusing the most on is project execution. So
Gotcha.
they're doing, all the AutoCAD drawings. They might show me a few options, and I say I like option B, but tweak these two ways. They get their feedback, and then they move everything forward. But that being said, if we were to bring in a new interior designer, we do not feel like our company has a specific style or an aesthetic. What we really want to hone in on is we have a certain philosophy that really sets us apart. And that's the idea of livable luxury. Having a very functional home for family living was really important to Lina and myself. And so that's the big thing that we want to make sure we're taking the time to train our employees to understand the importance of that. So that branded message, the ins and outs, they're asking the correct questions to clients so they know how to pick the right materials for them. But we're not trying at this point in our company to have a specific look that they have to be onboarded. It's more, are they going to understand our philosophy in order to bring everything forward?
Well, and to that point, right? Like if it's either somebody currently working on your design team or a new one coming in, your livable luxury, I, had read your website. You're all about like literally making it so that people can raise kids and animals, right? We're not talking about it really looks pretty and kind of works well. It's like, no. Like you can vacuum everything. I love the sentence you used off there with I have to look at my notes. There was something about storage, like
Oh,
decorative storage. Like what's that word you used? I have to look at
Concealed
my notes.
storage.
concealed
Yeah.
storage.
Yeah, and it's so
Because
funny because what's so funny is isn't like I guess all storage is not concealed, right? I was like, well, isn't that implied? But that's the point. It's like the living room actually 4 and a 6-year-old can play here by day, but at night I can have grown adults here and we don't really know that the littles were here all day, right? That's that concealed
exactly.
storage that looks beautiful, right?
Exactly. And there was the whole message that really went out to, design stores and retail where it's like performance fabric. Well, what does performance really mean? Is it cleanable, concealable? Is it durable? They
Right.
don't understand. They're just hearing performance.
Right.
And does that make me feel comfortable? And the same thing goes for, concealed storage, making sure that it's safe for kids. It doesn't have to be a playroom storage bin.
Right.
It can be a beautiful credenza that inside has space for cubbies or for drawers where all their toys can go, but when the doors are closed, it looks like a beautiful space.
Right.
So it's really the philosophy and how we're selecting. It's not that we're creating something that no one can create. It's we created a branded niche and we are basically educating our clients about that.
Right.
Yeah, and
And
it's about providing the structure and the pieces of furniture, the materials that the client can live with, and also kind of nudge them in the right direction. So if you give them a beautiful credenza that has concealed storage, they're more likely to use it.
right.
If you give them a beverage center where you put all the juice boxes, the kids are more likely to go and get their juice boxes themselves.
Mhm.
So it's kind of setting the client up for success and
Mm.
educating them throughout the whole extent of the project, and kind of explaining to them why we're making these decisions and how they'll serve them well in the future.
And the way this pertains to scaling the company is that it becomes very important that when you mention consistent training and conversation with your team, that this isn't just a tagline. This is how you design. And if they are bringing you options and continue to design options that do not meet these criteria, then they're not going to be successful at your company, right?
Correct.
And that is the interesting thing, that to go back, Erin, to your first conversation to the colleague was, what is your why? Like, what are you doing, right? What do you want to do? Who do you want to show up as? What's the point of your company? Where does it fit in the world of design? And, I love that because one of the critical part of scaling is having the right people in the right seats doing the right roles, but they have to understand, like I'm like, I don't know, a broken wheel on this, the mission and the vision and the core values of your company, because otherwise you don't look around at all the humans at your business and everybody's happy, right? Because if they're at odds with each other and somebody is consistently wanting to put, I don't know, fluffy fur pillows around, and you're just like, I'm sorry, that is breeding ground for gummy bears. Like, we cannot have those here. Like, I have 4, 6, and 8-year-old grandchildren, and
I'm
I'm like,
totally stealing that line, LuAnn.
literally, I came downstairs 2 days ago, and there's the 4-year-old like hiding his gummy bears in my fur pillow, and I'm like, buddy, what are you doing there, buddy? And he's like, look, Mom,
I don't know
they're
how
like,
I got there.
they're like, no, he's like, look, it's like bears, like it's like little animals in the jungle. This is like, I had to applaud his creativity, but I'm like, dude, like, stop it.
He's storing them for later, obviously.
And I just like laughed at myself because I thought, would I have found them like if I didn't know? Like, would I be like finding a gummy in 3 weeks? Like,
You might be.
right. So, I mean, but that's the thing, like, right? It's like if a designer comes to work for you and they're yesing you on the interview, but then they're doing the opposite in real life, they're not going to work. You're not going to be able to scale with that person, right? Because they're out of your lane of where your vision is going for your company, right?
Exactly. And that's also, this is Erin. That's also one of the many, you live and you learn lessons. And I'm sure we've listened to many podcasts from you about hiring. And I think actually, and there was one that you had, and I remember this stuck with us, and I listened to it so many times. And it was about the proper interview process and the proper onboarding process.
Yeah.
I used to think, oh, we'll have someone just come in, they'll be hired. They're going to sit and kind of observe. And that was it. I didn't understand the ins and the outs of the importance of setting up an employee for success.
Yes.
That I remember I listened to probably 3 times. It was fabulous.
Yeah. I have to tell you, that was one of my learning lessons as well. I mean, and I think what it is, to the point of this conversation about what are some of the factors for success and scaling, right? It's when you are 3, 4 people. Look, are you in a much better position if you have a proper onboarding process, assuming you've got the proper interview process? But, I can remember from experience when we're 3 or 4 of us and I'm hiring one person, basically that person's just coming with me doing all the things. And
It's
you know what I mean?
completely different.
It's completely different.
Completely
And it was the big aha that once we got to, multiple layers of employees, it's like, no, like I can remember making the mistake, probably 3 or 4 employees in a row over a 3 or 4 year period, where I would start them out the first day. And like by the end of day 2, I'm like, my brain is fried from teaching you stuff. I'm done. Like, I figured it out. You figure it out. like
Totally.
Answer the phone, tell them, you'll get an answer. Like I like literally between my crazy brain, not having a process on it and not understanding it. But as I started to interview my cousin, Eileen Hahn, and Chad James also had a good process for that. And Jessica Harling has had good episodes on the hiring and onboarding process. And I was just like, and I remember the first time I committed to doing it the way that it was supposed to be done. I was like, oh, see, that's why they talk about this, because it works.
And I remember now, this is Erin again. I remember it was actually about WindowWorks. It was how you guys actually scaled and hired your employees. And I remember one of the big takeaways was you're not going to be able to jump in on a first day and start learning the processes and the little tidbits.
Yes.
You need to start big. And then you have to work your way in of the why.
Yes, it was that was telling. That was probably Jessica Harling is my guess. I'll look for that episode.
Fabulous. And I still remember it was, and that's what we do now is we explain the overall of our entire, like from the start to finish of a process of a project. And then we start breaking up into the little details. I remember that was the biggest game changer.
This episode is sponsored by Revelwoods. Revelwoods is your source for premium hardwood and resilient flooring. Using the Revelwoods selector tool, you will be able to find curated suggestions for each specific project based on criteria such as style, color, zip code, and usage. Because the species of wood that performs in a laundry room in Key West is not going to be the same as the wood that will perform in a living room in Chicago. And how do you know that? Well, Revelwoods helps you. Know before you specify. And when you sign up for a free professional membership, you'll get access to exclusive discounts and referral benefits. Visit revelwoods.com to get started.
For us.
One of the things in that episode that was the aha for me, and at that point I was probably in business 38 years, like, let's be serious, like, I talk about slow learner, okay, was that if I remember the first week of her process is that the new hire spends a day with every role in your company.
Yes.
So, right? That was the Jessica episode.
Yes.
So if I'm hiring an admin, like, I never had an admin spend a day with a salesperson. I never had an admin spend a day with an installer. I never had an admin spend a day with me doing my stuff, right? And that was what you just said. Like, let's let this person understand the big picture of how all the people intersect and how their jobs connect, right? And then the following week, it's like, then you add this. And I'm curious if you had the same aha that I had in that, which was to allow the new hire multiple times throughout the 6-week onboarding process of time alone, to just be in your office, maybe with some reading material. In your case, you could say, here, go on Cravat.com, go in and out, figure out how you would source shears and textiles and, sofas, right? Like, just to play with the tools of your trade. And I remember thinking, and I remember I said to Jessica, like, I would be like, if anybody, like, I would think I'm like, I don't know, putting them like in timeout. Like, here, you're going to sit here by yourself for an hour and read this magazine on window treatments. Like, and she was like, LuAnn, some people need the time to disengage from all the stimulus. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
You're like, that's foreign to me.
That's wild, And the funny thing is when I did it because I'm one, if you get through my thick head, I respect you as an expert, I'm like, okay, I at least owe it to myself and to your experience and expertise to do it your way, right? And I remember when I did it, this is going back 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like probably the second time in about 8 business days that I was training 2 salespeople at the same time, where I sat them down with a Window Fashion Vision magazine book and the other one with, the Hunter Douglas website to just putz around with. And after the second session of timeout was done, I came up and I got them and I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And before I transitioned to the next thing, I said to them, so how do you like that time? To kind of regroup and just like look. And the looks on both, they were like, oh my God, it's so great. I really love it. And I was like, all right, wackadoodles, but okay, let's keep doing it.
So Lina, my takeaway is I need a timeout after the final presentation.
Yes.
I just got my aha moment.
Right. Because you feel overwhelmed and overstimulated when you give a presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're jumping around between projects,
yes,
because we typically, like, for every project manager, they have 4 to 5 projects happening simultaneously. And
so you're getting reports from all of them on all the things.
All of them. And we have 4 project managers and senior designers. So my head is on all of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are times when you're just like, I finished this. I need just like a mental break.
Yes.
To just kind of let it just kind of sit and then come back. And the next day I'm totally refreshed. I think that's very important. And as Lina said, to just even the mental health, making sure that your priorities are not just in work, but also in personal life.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think it goes back to the, I think it was Eileen Hahn's episode where she talked about how she was giving an example about a company that wasn't doing it right, basically.
Yes, that young guy, right? They lost a big good salesperson
something
from
like
something.
that. And she was like, you want them to be lions, but you've hired lambs. Yeah. And that was her message. And it's like, it starts from the beginning. It starts in the hiring process, because you do want to hire people who are proactive and who are going to want to play with the tools of the trade, as you said, who are
Yeah.
curious and passionate and want to continually learn more. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when I say, like when I said a few minutes ago that we are constantly training, I mean, a lot of the training is a part of our culture, in the sense that we're always sharing, oh, look, this new vendor came out with a new collection. These are my faves. And then the whole team will click on that link and go and take a look and comment back and say, oh, I love this one. Oh, I love that one. Oh, look at this cool new finish that, Hudson Valley's doing with their lights. So, I think the training is integral to the culture, but we're also hiring people who are going to appreciate that and absorb that,
The passion.
and then implement it.
Well, and
And
that comes from
you start modeling the behaviors that you want from your employees.
yes,
you know
and it comes from you both said it, the clarity on who you are, where you want to go, and how you want to deliver it. Like, what are your core values, right? Because when you have really identified, like, a core value for you is training. Clearly, it's clear that we always are wanting to better ourselves, learn more about our trade and about our process and about each other, right? And it's like, when you have that conversation in that interview process, people will reveal themselves. Like, if and you can't say, here's our core value, this is, do you believe in it too? Of course they're going to say yes, right? But you can ask questions about, what's your experience with, constant training? Like, when's the last time you went and took a class or a course on something in design? If they're like humna at you, like, you're like, yeah, okay, so you're giving me lip service that this is important,
yeah
but you don't actually do it, right?
yeah and I mean, early on we had a few employees that really did just look at the job as a 9 to 5, and they would
Yeah.
clock out at 5, and that was it. But
Yeah.
now I would say our team, like, we live and breathe design. Like, we get excited about the silliest things, like look at this fabric swatch, and we want people who are excited to go to showrooms and High Point and industry events and just continually learn. So I think when we say training, it's more like development, really, career
Yes.
development.
Yes.
And I sort of equate that with mentorship. It's kind of like setting up a path for them. And hey, we might lose some employees because they want to go start their own business. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a wonderful
It's the
thing.
cycle of life. Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny because I'm racking my brain. It might have been one of Tracy Connell's early episodes on the podcast, going back maybe 4 years or so. And if it wasn't Tracy Connell, it might have been Tori Alexander. But I remember one of these ladies saying, because they both run fairly large teams as well, to the point of training, that whether it's once a week or whatever the cadence was, but the team members are individually assigned with showing the rest of the team that new great product from Cravat, or the new technology that, Mydoma just added to the thing, or whatever it is. It's like everybody, whatever the cadence is, if it's once a month, it's your turn, whatever it is. But it's part of the team meeting, and there's a 10-minute section where, okay, here's the new thing. And to your point, everybody opens the link, or maybe they put it on the TV in the conference room or whatever. But it is walking the talking, what is that? Walking the talk. I don't know what it is. Walking the walk. It's like you're saying that business development and consistent looking into the trends and the new things is important, but it's also expressing the environment that this is what we do here. We actually do this. And if you're not excited to find the next new thing to tell the team, then probably this is like an area where you're not a fit, right? Because it's
Right.
really like your face lights up every time you talk about like a piece of fabric. It's like insane.
Well, and this is Erin, and that's also the really interesting thing is that, when we're hiring employees and trying to scale, we didn't look to need to hire designers from a traditional interior design background. Actually, a lot of our employees were career changes. They have a lot to bring to the table. One, her background was in PR, public relations.
Wow.
And she's incredibly organized. She was our second hire, and she basically helped us to create, our initial systems and processes.
Mm.
And then even trying out new programs. Like, I'm a total geek to testing out new programs, like probably way too many. And, we've hired, someone whose background is in fashion, and she just has an incredible natural talent of creating just like incredible art galleries.
Wow.
So when we're, doing projects together, we'll probably bring her in on completely different projects and help us to put together a gallery. And so we don't try to hold people to one specific talent. It's, try a little bit of everything, but if you love to specialize in this, explain to the team how you do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
foster that growth to everyone, and they get really excited about it. So,
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah. And what's really interesting and what we found is that if you hire people who are passionate about interior design, and you get them all together, there's like a special magic that happens. And, it's sort of translated to passion for the company. And that's actually been a little bit of our secret sauce in terms of growing and scaling, because, as you spoke about the team meetings, our team meetings used to be like 3 hours long, because not only were we talking about our clients and troubleshooting and, the basic stuff you talk about in a team meeting, but we were also talking about our systems and processes, and everyone had opinions and thoughts. And we were constantly iterating and making things better. And we really saw tangible results from that. And we were able to optimize some of the programs that are out there to really cater to our internal process. And
So you
that
put the work in, and then it ended up paying off. Now the meetings don't
exactly.
have to be 3 hours. Yeah.
Substantially.
Yes, now they're
Nice.
1 hour,
Nice.
thankfully.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now let's move to where I also wanted to go, which is this evolution of you, Erin, becoming the creative director and Lina becoming the business development director. So I get it. You said you're still going to like look at each other. Lina's going to ask and, bounce ideas about business development and marketing and all the things, and vice versa. You're going to ask, but did you reestablish job descriptions for yourselves and like, this is your primary role here? And then, because like, I'll tell you to share it from like the Window Works perspective. So, it used to be me, Vinny, and Billy, and now there are, there are others that own it, JC and Kim and Billy and Carlos. And the thing is, what I'm always describing, because my role is basically, as Vinny and I are like co-chairman of the boards now, like advisory, right? And I think they get it now, but a year and a half ago, I don't know that they did. And they worked all of us for many years for us. Okay. And I don't think, one of the things I think they misunderstood, but just because they didn't pay attention to it. And the way I describe it to them is, listen, now that you are an owner in the company, you have two roles. You have your role as your job in the company. So you're either an installer or you're a salesperson, but then you have your role as the owner. And so doing your job as a salesperson or an owner and doing it exceptional and doing it better than probably anybody in the window treatment I would put up against you without argument isn't good enough anymore. You're now an owner. So now you have your roles as owner, and that includes leadership and management of other people and accountability to you took on a thing at a meeting and you said you would volunteer for it. Well, you don't get to show up at the next meeting and you didn't do it. And the thing is, I don't think they actually understood that me and Vinny had jobs and owner roles. It was like somehow the other owner stuff just got done. I'm like, no, sweetie, that's what we did nights and weekends. You know what I'm saying?
Full job.
You're a big team. You don't have to do nights and weekends. And so the thing is, I'm kind of seeing that with you guys. You have your distinct roles as creative director and business development director. But that doesn't mean you still don't come together as designers too and do the designing thing. But have you established your lanes as creative director and business development director so that when you sit down at your quarterly meetings, you can be like, well, Lina, you said you were going to develop 5 more projects this month. And you can say, well, Erin, you said that you were going to develop 3 more designers under you to manage those projects. Like, do you have that figured out yet? Because that's where you're going. If you haven't figured it out yet, that's your next job.
Yeah.
So
this is Erin. So we have an operations manager who basically helps us. So that way we're not, just bouncing ideas. I feel like having a third person is
Great.
incredibly important to be a part of those meetings. And she also has a business background. Her background's actually in production.
Oh, nice.
And so we're able to really come together and go through an agenda. So that way, Lina is leading the business development. She's bringing the information back to us, and we're basically collaborating to decide, like, based on our workload that I'm providing the information for, because I know what's going on the projects, when can we take on another project?
Love
and then
it.
she's doing all the background work of selling to the client, reaching out to new potential, what's going on in the market. Do we feel like it's an upturn, a downturn? So that way we can also project what we want to do in terms of our company. It's too much information at this point where it's just for one person.
Right.
And so in order for us to scale and get to the next level, it was a full role of someone who needed to come in here and take all of that workload. And same thing for me going into creative direction or being a creative director. I can't be on top of every single project. My brain would absolutely explode. So, what we decided together is that the way we want to scale our company is it makes more sense to hire more project managers, a bigger design team. And then I have my touch points.
Right.
I'm able to bring the information back to the table between our operations manager and Lina. So everyone has information that they're bringing back together to then determine how we need to proceed.
Love it. And then Erin and I are making decisions based on that.
I love it. It's just, this is great. It's great. I love it because you are literally, progressing in exactly the right direction. You've got the two of you on the same page from a standpoint of business philosophy, design philosophy, home life balance philosophy, all of that. You have your message down so clear that you're attracting the right clients and the right employees, right? And you are acknowledging that there's growth that comes along this, and with growth comes new roles and definition in those roles. But you're maintaining, but you're maintaining that conversation between the two of you and understanding. That's really what it is. It's understanding that each of you will have accountability for certain areas, but that doesn't mean that there's autonomy. There's, like you said a couple of times in that, Erin, each of you are responsible for bringing information back to the other one because the other one's busy doing their thing. And then together we get up on the same page. We have a little powwow about it, and then we make a decision moving forward. It's outstanding. I mean, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, and what I would say to all the interior designers out there who are just getting started is, the beauty of having your own business is that you are your own boss, and there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't create it the way you want. That is part of the huge joy of doing this. And I think both Erin and I are so thankful that we are able to share it, together. And it's hard. It's really hard. You have to put in the work, but you can do it.
Yes, exactly. One last thing I want to touch on, and you said it, Lina, about halfway through, about the good people, that you want to create a company that good people want to work at. Okay. The thing about it is there are a lot of good people out there, aren't there?
Yeah.
That really have no desire to have their own company, at least and the thing is, my guess is if you have 6 or 8 people working for you now, maybe there's 1, maybe there's 2 that ultimately will spin out and open their own business. But when you have such a strong culture of the way I've heard you describe it, it sounds like to me you're attracting the people who understand, I want to be super important in a great company, but I don't really need my name on the door, and I don't need to figure out the taxes, and I don't have to worry if we should buy a building or not buy a building. I want to do the thing I do. And that's like those are very special people in our industry to find them, right?
This is Erin.
Yes.
Absolutely. I used to think in the beginning, like years ago, that the ultimate goal is to open your own business.
Right.
And over time, I learned that that is not for everyone. It is a lot of work. It's very hard. It can be incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. But on the flip side, I can also understand and appreciate the ability to feel fulfilled in what you're doing, but not needing the back end of it. You know,
Yeah.
as long as they're in a position that they are able to see growth, they're able to be appreciated, they're able to, feel fulfilled. And if they want to focus on, developing their background and getting NCIDQ certified or, NKBA, like we want to help to support that because we understand that they're not going to stay with us, for 20 years. Like, they're not our, how our grandparents were, but we
Right.
want to make sure that they have the growth, they have the direction, and they feel appreciated.
Yeah.
And we feel that works on both ends. If we appreciate and respect you, it comes back, and they appreciate our business, and they want to put in the extra effort, and it shows.
I have to say, in my many, many conversations, mostly in person, not on air so much, is I think often when I find a conversation with someone who's in their own business and they're struggling because it doesn't click. Like the things don't click, right? It's not easy being an entrepreneur. There's like just staying in business 1 year, doing $100,000 in gross revenue, let alone building to multiple millions like you ladies have. But I find that a lot of people, I think to myself, you probably shouldn't be in business. You would be a great project manager for somebody. But what happens is they will have done a stint as a project manager or a senior designer, and they did not feel like there was an opportunity for growth, or they did not feel appreciated. They did not feel valued. And so then their brain told them, well, the only other option in order to feel like my designs are important, I get to have a say in the design, I get to have a say in, the conversations with what the wallpaper guy is going to do or not do, is to own my own company. And that's not actually the truth. There are great companies like yours that are looking for those unicorns that really just want to show up and be in their lane and shine, right?
Totally. Yes. And
Yeah.
please send those people our way. We're in
Because
Greenwich,
that next
Connecticut.
$2 million, we need another body or two, right?
Yes. No, but that's absolutely true. And we want to create
Yeah.
a space where people do feel valued and where their design, comes to life.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing is that, when Kimberly came to me, 15, 16 years ago, you never thought in a million years she'd be an owner of Window Works, right? Like the best succession planning is the great sets of eyeballs right behind you that have been working with you, you've been grooming. And
100%.
so one day, they might become partners of yours, or you might sell to them, or they might say no, like I really have no desire to be the owner, get another partner in here. Like I want to keep being senior, you know what I'm saying? So, very cool. Very cool. Well, you guys are outstanding. I think this was so fun getting to know the both of you and your business. And I just love that, you took the action. You didn't just passively listen to, Monica and Bria and Sandra and all the other people that have shared their lessons with us, that you put them into action and you really then turned it into your own, right? Now, you stand in that seat with experience and expertise, right?
No, this has been a big moment for us, starting from the beginning of, listening to your podcast at the begin, and now being on the podcast. Like it's really exciting to wonder who else is kind of listening in and to find out, what their growth might end up being. So we hope that we were able to give some little tidbits and maybe they had an aha moment to help in their path.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I just had a DM in the last couple of days. Somebody came in and said, oh my goodness, I just found your podcast like 5 or 6 months ago. I'm binge listening. I'm learning so much, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I come in, I'm like, that's awesome. Good for you. Make sure you do the work. Don't just listen, blah, blah, blah. And then she came back and she said, yes, and one day I hope to be on the show and say all the things that I learned. You know what I mean? So it's
See,
true.
you never know.
Somebody
Yeah.
out there is listening and, with their pen and paper, writing it all down.
You know it.
That's it. That's it. Oh my goodness, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your advice with the next generation of designers to come up. Thanks tons.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much, LuAnn. We really appreciate you.
I have to say, it always makes me smile when I hear how any one of you grow your business, improve your business, and in general, take inspiration to be better business owners by listening to the podcast. And I absolutely love learning the specific aha moments and light bulbs that go off for each of you, and then to also understand the impact. Actually, to understand the actions you took because of a guest or a lesson. See, that part, that's the magic part, right? Taking the action and putting it into your business. Erin and Lina were obviously already successful in their previous careers, but through all the guests before them, they figured out how they could scale to a much higher level together. And now, here they did. They shared their lessons with you. I just love it. They talked about how Bria Hamill's episode, which we'll link in the show notes, inspired them to write down every single step of the client process. And then Erin and Lina took it a step further and also wrote down every step of the process pertaining to their employees. This is key. When you teach your clients what to expect at each step, you build their confidence and trust in you as the leader of the project. And when you teach your employees what to do and what is expected at each step of the process, you build their competency as well as their confidence and trust in you as the leader of your firm. Defining the processes, both front and back of house, okay? This is how you up-level in every way. You up-level quality of clients, projects, employees, outcomes, all the things. Lina shared that she and Erin aimed to create a company where people wanted to work there. This immediately reminded me of an episode, number 980, with Shelley Warren. Shelley is a huge supporter of the idea that your firm can be a great career for the right people. And we'll link that episode in the show notes along with Shelley's podcast, okay? Now, Curated Nest is a direct example of this sentiment that great people find great companies to work for. Erin and Lina offer their employees complete packages, including 401k and continuing education. They look for people who exemplify goodness and quality, as well as people who are fun to be around. For Erin and Lina, their goal isn't only to have amazing talent, but also to have people who want to work there, not people who just end up there. There's a big difference in that. They make sure that each employee has a say, feels supported, fulfilled, and room to grow. This consideration and support for their employees is one of the main factors of their scaling. I love it because if this is how you want your company to be, you'd have to learn to be deliberate when hiring people. Hoping is not planning. Okay. As they grew and built their productive team, adding an operations manager, a procurement manager, project manager, senior designer, among other titles, Erin and Lina were able to rearrange their specific job duties to be creative director and director of business development. This helps them focus on their specific duties and understand their each lanes, and therefore making it easier for them to do their own individual work, but also to collaborate better. You see, the secret sauce to scaling is not only your team and the great job they do, it's educating and respecting them, and also the collaboration and the partnership that you have with each other and your employees. I love, 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 love it. Now, I want to say, if you too are currently hiring or planning to scale, I have help for you. We have done a lot of shows, which we will link in the show notes, with excellent advice about interviewing, hiring, training, and onboarding. A few of the episodes that come to mind are ones by Jessica Harling, James Chad, Dwayne Bergman, and of course my cousin Eileen Hahn. And because hiring top talent begins with attracting top talent, rest assured, we have done the hard work for you. Check out our hiring toolkits at LuAnnNigara.com/shop. These hiring toolkits are a result of Eileen Hahn's 40 years of experience in building exceptional teams, combined with my insights from 1,000+ interviews and the more than 50 interior designers that we have both coached individually and together. The hiring toolkits contain compelling job postings, detailed job descriptions, as well as checklists for interviewing, including the right interview questions to ask, as well as how to evaluate the responses you get. These toolkits have been proven in the field to help you attract the kind of people who are looking for meaningful work, not just a phone-it-in job. So if you want to build an exceptional team, just like Lina and Erin, go to LuAnnNigara.com/shop. So Erin and Lina, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the years of listening to the show. And thank you for allowing us to turn the tables today and having you two share your wisdom. I appreciate you both. And thank you for showing up and listening today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.